Hi, I'm Dr. Patrick Andersen of Madison Max Living. There are literally thousands of articles and studies published every day. Finding the most pertinent and useful natural health information can be a daunting task. It's easy to be overwhelmed with the volume of information and difficult to know what to do next. On Max Living, we'll filter these articles and studies to bring you and your family the best natural healthcare news. Join co-host Stacy Hansen and myself coming up next.
Welcome back to Max Living with Dr. Patrick Andersen, talking natural health care news today. And since it's fall and we're all kind of excited for that, we thought we'd start off talking about some of the fall superfoods. So you can kind of enjoy the fall season while eating the appropriate foods that are still healthy for you. And this doesn't include Halloween candy, does it, Dr. Pat?
No, not necessarily.
Even if they have orange wrappers, it doesn't count.
And you might
orange
not eat some of these things, so it's good to try new things all the time.
Yep, so of course, you know, everyone's thinking about like the winter squashes, pumpkin, acorn squash, all of that, which is great. I just tried roasting some of that the other day and it turned out wonderfully. Rub a little olive oil on it, and you can put maple syrup on it, but maybe try cinnamon instead, something like that. So try some of that, but fennel, I didn't realize that fennel was kind of considered to be a fall veggie too. That's a superfood. And you know, I don't use it too often in cooking, but it's basically, you know, used like a herb in cooking, and you can use it in just about anything. Do you have any recipe? Do you use fennel much?
I haven't much, but I think I'll start. There's a good way to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy way to kind of throw it in. And of course, pears and apples we think of. Maybe apples more than pears we think of in the fall, but those are superfoods for you that are great right now just for a snack, you know, and even pears you can throw into other dishes. You know, if you do like a meat dish, you can chop it up and put some blue cheese in there. Have you tried that? That's really awesome. Maybe a little balsamic vinegar.
You know, if we could make those salads like you do when you go out to restaurants, and you add the pears and then do a little bit of cheeses in there and the fruits, it just totally changes the flavor.
Amazing, maybe add some walnuts in there or something, get another
flavor
superfood.
Explosion.
Then you
might want to eat healthy foods that way.
Exactly. They don't have to be dull, you know. You can definitely mix them together. What else do we have here? Carrots and parsnips. I've not really tried parsnips, but it says here, be aware that parsnips aren't going to taste like carrots. Have you tried parsnips?
Not that. I haven't had much for parsnips.
No, it says that, well, they're lighter in color. They're a little bit sweeter and nuttier than a carrot. So it seems like it'd be.
And you know, it's so good to try different things. I just had a big bowl of collard greens.
I have not had collard greens.
With protein, piece of mahi-mahi and collard greens.
How was it?
Oh, it's awesome.
Really?
It's so dark green and so good. And then mustard greens. So going to the farmer's market, but trying all kinds of new things. Looking rutabaga.
Yeah.
Had that.
I haven't had it, but I'm not even sure I know what it looks like. What does it look like?
It's a little bald root vegetable.
Oh, okay. Is it red?
A little bit.
A little bit? I think I may have seen that. What else are we looking at? Pomegranate, speaking of red. You know, you can just have those as a snack. There may be a learning curve on how to cut it up, but basically it says you cut off the crown and then cut the pomegranate into sections, plus put a section in a bowl of water, and then roll out those little bits, those seeds, with your fingers and strain out the water. And then you can just have that pomegranate as a snack. That sounds really delicious, huh? Or put it in a smoothie.
It does.
Sweet potatoes, of course, we can roast those, but it says stay away from the marshmallows. This isn't a Thanksgiving casserole we're talking about here. Cauliflower, too.
Cauliflower's really gotten popular, hasn't it?
It has. I'm seeing that everywhere.
And pizza crust.
Yeah.
It's just loaded with vitamins and nutrients and fiber and antioxidants. So those
so
are real
versatile.
foods.
So, and Brussels sprouts.
I love Brussels sprouts. I didn't used to like them. I thought they were like little grenades in my stomach when I was younger.
Really? They kind of look like them, I guess.
But when they're roasted just right, they're just delicious. I encourage everyone. Brussels sprouts is such a great cruciferous vegetable. And as being cruciferous is one of the high anti-cancer foods, any cruciferous vegetable.
So like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts.
And Brussels sprouts are high in anti-cancer factors. So these are the good foods to put in your body to stay healthy and energized.
And really enjoy the fall season and make the most of it. And maybe you can have, if you eat all these, you can have 1 or 2 pieces of Halloween candy, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe. All right, well, stay with us. There's more right after this.
Have your questions for Dr. Pat answered on an episode of Maximize Living. Send your email to drpat@wi57.tv.
Welcome back to Max Living with Dr. Patrick Andersen, talking natural health care news. And right before the break, we were talking about some of the fall superfoods and the great foods that are out there right now that are in season that can kind of help you enjoy the season. But during the break, Dr. Pat was sharing an awesome recipe that he has that uses some shaved Brussels sprouts, because we were just talking about Brussels sprouts. But this sounds amazing. So Dr. Pat, can you share this?
Sure. I like to make a chicken soup in a crock pot. And so I start with organic chicken broth, which is available in a lot of places. And then I put organic chicken thighs with the bones in there. The bone broth is good for you.
Okay, yeah.
And then
Easy way to get
just
it.
start loading up every vegetable you can. I put about a half a bag of shaved Brussels sprouts in there.
Oh, I bet those get nice and tender then
Yeah,
by the time
and I
they're
like
slow
using the
cooked.
chicken thighs with the bone because I've tried sawing chicken thighs. It just takes forever.
not fun.
But when you put it in a crock pot, it just melts away.
And then you just pick it out.
You just take the bones out when you're done.
What other kind of veggies do you
Oh, I
use?
put poblano peppers, a ton of garlic, and ginger,
Ginger.
some wild rice, zucchini, carrots,
Oh, yeah.
just anything you can think of. I put in rutabaga and cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, or not Brussels sprouts, but the broccoli,
Oh, sure.
and just any vegetable you can think of that you have. Asparagus.
And it's awesome, I bet.
And just put every veggie in there and let it cook for 4, 6, 8, 10 hours. The longer you let it cook, the healthier it is, I think.
Yeah.
And then it's to die for when you have that.
Oh, doesn't that sound great right now on a cold day?
Good soup is a good thing to have this season.
That's perfect. And it gets those veggies in too. It's an easy way to sort of, and I think it's easier for kids to eat them that way too. When they're cooked like that, they don't really notice, because some kids are averse to some textures.
And the broth is just full of nutrients, especially since it's slow cooked.
Yeah.
It's going to be much healthier.
Oh, that sounds awesome. I think I'm going to be trying that for sure this fall.
You get 3, 4, 5 bowls out of it, so it works.
Oh yeah,
works
so you can
pretty
get
well.
a nice family meal. Yeah, or maybe even a couple meals out of it, which is even better during the week. So
Exactly.
you've got a great article here too about boosting your immune system, and I'm sure that eating all those good veggies is one of them.
Really is one of
Yeah.
them. And this is an article from Optimal Health University. It's a newsletter I subscribe to in my office. And they said 8 ways to boost your immune system, especially now with the cold weather and
Yeah.
people run around busy, and sometimes our immune system is a little challenged. It starts here with number 1, of course, is chiropractic care. And studies showed that white blood cells, polymorphial neutrophils, and monocytes are significantly higher following chiropractic adjustment. So your immune cells work better. And also another study showed that the killer cells are higher when you get adjusted. The increase in natural killer cells, which are anti-cancer cells in the body. And reducing stress and cortisol levels are very important in boosting immune system. Adjustments have actually been shown, chiropractic adjustments, to lower cortisol levels and boost
Wow.
the natural hormones that make you feel happier and boost your mood.
That's amazing.
Exercise, of course, we all know how important that is. Here's a study that exercise also boosted the natural killer cells on women post breast cancer.
Wow.
And sleep, 7 to 8 hours of sleep, shown to boost mood and function. Amplify your antioxidant intake, what we just talked about with the vegetables. Fresh fruits and vegetables are loaded with antioxidants that zap free radical chemicals that we all produce. So that's why you eat these fruits and vegetables, because we produce free radicals more with a bad lifestyle. But by eating these fruits and vegetables, we can take up the free radicals, which cause damage in our bodies. And that's really why you hear antioxidants are used to do that work. Look into your diet and eat organic as much as possible so you don't get the pesticide overload. And then stay social. People who are more social do much better. They have a significant increase in immune function when people stay more social. Even social if you pet a dog. Here's a study saying 18 minutes of petting a dog will help your own immune cells function better.
Oh, wow. So even if you're a little
Yeah.
lonely, just get a pet.
Yeah.
Just get a dog.
And then here's one, ponder positively, the 8th one. Nuns who chronicled positive emotions in their 20s lived longer and healthier lives than those that had neutral histories.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that was fascinating, and that's out of University of Kentucky.
So staying
those are ways to
positive.
boost your immune system. Each one of those during this period of time. It isn't just taking vitamin C. You really want that lifestyle, and all of it makes a difference in keeping you healthy.
All right, more great tips right after the break. Stay with us.
Have your questions for Dr. Pat answered on an episode of Maximize Living. Send your email to drpat@wi57.tv.
Welcome back to Max Living with Dr. Patrick Andersen, talking natural health care news today. And there's an interesting article here. This was a study published by Cell Metabolism, and it was about fasting. And we've talked about fasting a lot on the show and some of the benefits of it. But this went counter to what I would have believed. They did a study with mice, and they found that increasing the time between meals, as we know, made the mice healthier overall and live longer compared to other mice. But what was intriguing was that they could eat the same amount of food as a mouse that was
Isn't
eating
that-
more frequently and still get the benefit. So you don't have to decrease the amount of food you're eating or your calories necessarily. Just increase the amount of time in between those meals,
that
which is
fasting time.
fascinating.
I think it gives the body a chance to rest and repair. So when you're not, digestion is a lot of work for the body, especially if you eat the wrong foods or too much food. It's a lot of work for the body, for that stomach to churn that. And
Yeah.
when you have that rest period without having to do that, your body can perform many of its other functions, immune functions, detoxifying the body, other body functions. They just work better.
That makes sense, yeah. I mean, because how can your body's always having to, you're constantly eating food, eating snacks, your body's always like, well, here we go again.
And
Yeah,
many people might notice they're really tired after they eat a Thanksgiving kind
Yeah,
of meal.
the Thanksgiving
About an
kind of
hour
feeling.
later, they can't keep their eyes open, not very functional.
Right, and so that it makes sense then.
Yeah. So the timing and eating. So I like intermittent fasting, where I try not to eat breakfast, have some coffee, and then put some oil in it, or butter is something you put in it, or particular coconut oil will help keep your brain active and healthy. And it gives you a rest for 12, 15, 16 hours. And some of the best intermittent fasters are only having a window of 4 to 6 hours where they'd actually eat.
Oh, I don't know if I could do that.
It's a challenge.
If they're having to fit in all their calories for the day into that 4 to 6 hours, maybe they're eating less.
They're
I
probably
wonder.
eating less too.
Yeah.
It's a good way to stimulate your system, and a lot of people are healthier to do that. So I think it's a good thing to look into intermittent fasting for people.
So that's interesting, and to know that you don't necessarily have to be, starving in ways where you're eating less, which is interesting. Makes it more doable, I think.
I've got one here from Health Day News. Health tip: know the risk factors for lower back pain. And this states that about 80% of Americans will have lower back pain at some point in their lives, according to the U.S. National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke. And they list some risk factors for lower back pain, one of which is age. Low back pain often comes more as you're elderly, but it's also quite surprising how many teenagers have back pain.
Even teenagers.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
And next is fitness level. Back pain occurs more often among people who aren't physically fit. So if you sit too long and you're not moving enough, really makes a difference. Pregnancy, being pregnant, often is accompanied with low back pain. In fact, about a 7-degree curvature of the spine is the average misalignment of the spine for a pregnant lady during pregnancy. So that's where getting exercise, the right exercise, getting your body adjusted is so important during pregnancy. Being overweight can put a lot of stress on the back. And if someone has more of a pendulous abdomen, it pulls the spine forward.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
And that can put pressure on the spine over time. And there's just more weight. It's harder on the hips, knees, and feet. And often I'll see people who've been very heavy, say over 300 pounds, and they'll get quite a roundness in their back from that weight.
Oh, sure.
And their gait will change to more of a circumductive gait. And it just changes the mechanics of the body. So keeping the weight down has huge effects on your structure. Here it states genetics is a form of chronic problems with the back. Ankylosing spondylitis, so is an arthritis that is genetically linked. Occupation, heavy lifting, pushing and pulling obviously can cause problems. And backpack overload. So young kids with a backpack really change their posture. And
You can't
carrying
help but
that
lean
for a long
forward,
time really
right.
trains the spine wrong. And I'll just add 2 things to this article. One would be the history of impacts. How many accidents, how many falls did a person have, and each of those impacts leaves a mark on your structure and your spine that really needs to be corrected. Otherwise, they throw your mechanics off and you keep having trouble. And lastly, how was your birth? Was it a traumatic birth? And a study shows that 90% of children have an upper cervical misalignment at birth because of the position in the womb, intrauterine constriction, and from the delivery process itself.
Right.
It's hard on both the baby and the mom. So that's why it's so important for kids to get checked so they don't start out back problems as a lifelong history that could have been corrected early on after birth.
That's interesting. Well, definitely another great case there to call Dr. Pat today and get checked out. Well, stay with us. There's more great stuff right after this.
Have your questions for Dr. Pat answered on an episode of Maximize Living. Send your email to drpat@wi57.tv.
Welcome back to Max Living with Dr. Patrick Andersen, talking natural health care news today. We've had a lot of great stuff so far. I've really learned a lot and got a lot of ideas of things to try. The next one we have is talking about kind of the data that's been found that's saying that there's some mood boosting effects of probiotics and omega-3s, which are two things that we've talked about a lot on this show. So this was from the researchers at the University of Illinois, and they did find that people that are eating maybe sweets and fast foods or consuming them more frequently are more likely associated with stress, having a lot of stress and depression, and people that are eating fruits and vegetables, it's kind of the opposite. And they're saying that they think that it may be that having a high quality diet, as we're always kind of telling people to do, prebiotics, probiotics, it could beneficially affect your mood. If you have got a lot of dietary fiber, omega-3s, you could see a reduced risk of developing depression, anxiety, stress. So again, some things that you can look into just with your diet and see if they help.
There's more evidence that psychiatry may include more and more nutrition as part of the underlying root of mental disease.
So that's really encouraging. I think with exercise too, and people could see some good results that they could just feel like they could take back control a little bit.
Exactly, and I think that's sorely missing in the psychiatric field is the importance of that exercise and a Mediterranean type of real food diet for brain health. And it causes a lot of diseases that cumulatively if we aren't getting proper nutrition. And sadly, about 10 or 15% of people actually have adequate nutrition.
Wow, that's pretty sad. 10 to 15%.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've got a study here, keep taking the vitamin D tablets. And this one talks about a concern with children getting too much vitamin D and set their limits on that. And it also talks about bone health for vitamin D, perhaps not requiring as much vitamin D for bone health. And they said, be careful with this. Don't lower your vitamin D just based on bone health, because a man has evolved to a point where, because bone health is so important, we don't require a lot of vitamin D for bone health.
Oh, really? So our bodies have adjusted?
Yes,
Wow.
because it was very dangerous as a Paleolithic time to have a broken bone, you would die. So you had to be able to function. And that's what this article talks about. But it also said there's about 5,000 research papers per year that are unraveling vitamin D's role in infections, autoimmunity, degenerative brain diseases, and longevity. So be careful not to, and they're saying, be careful not to interpret vitamin D3 levels only for bone, but utilize your vitamin D3 level for other things, like how is your immune functioning.
Right.
Dr. Mercola, who is a very popular online proponent of taking vitamin D3, says 50% less cancer deaths if you have adequate levels of vitamin D.
Wow,
Well, who doesn't want a cure for cancer? Who doesn't want to prevent cancer? But that's a powerful statement if you have adequate levels of vitamin D. And in the northern half of the United States, it's rampantly low.
Wow.
He said Maasai herdsmen have a serum D3 level of 100 to 120 nanomoles per liter, and that's a good goal. And so it says here he supplements, the cell biologist writing this says he supplements with 2,000 IU of vitamin D3 a day. And many others will say even up to 5,000 IU for a day.
Wow.
And the lower number would probably be best for kids, but talk to your pediatrician about that.
Yeah.
So
sure.
vitamin D3 is not just for bones, it's for immune function. You know, now we used to take vitamin C when you have a cold, or
Right,
take
you
it regularly to
still
prevent
think
a
of
cold.
vitamin C.
D is even more important.
Wow.
But C is still good because it's a very inexpensive antioxidant.
So C and D you want to look at this winter season as you're fighting those colds. Well, stay with us. There's more tips right after this.
Have your questions for Dr. Pat answered on an episode of Maximize Living. Send your email to drpat@wi57.tv.
Thank you for watching our show on Natural Healthcare News. After listening, I hope you are left with a sense of how amazing the human body is. By putting the latest studies to work in your lifestyle, you can absolutely drive better health. One of the best things you can do to drive better health for you and your family is to make sure you have a sound structure and nervous system. This means that a chiropractic checkup is essential for optimal health. Call 608-833-1282 for a checkup appointment today. For Max Living, I'm Dr. Patrick Andersen. Until next time, live well and God bless.
Have your questions for Dr. Pat answered on an episode of Maximize Living. Send your email to drpat@wi57.tv.